What's going on, guys? Kai here. In this video, we'll be going over all of the new Watch Dogs Legion info from the Ubisoft Forward event, everything from combat, story, and the abilities. So if you enjoy this content, hit that like button and don't forget the sub so you don't miss out on any Legion info. Now, let's get into it. We now know a little more about the story and the villains of Legions thanks to the Ubisoft Forward event. London was mysteriously massively bombed, and my guess is that the Dead Set gets the blame for the attack. So this leads to the government to hire a private military company called Albion, of which Nigel Cass is the CEO of. Nigel will do anything to permanently control the city. His main objective is to make London the first truly safe city. If you ask me, this dude is number 1 on the suspects list. He might have planned the bombing so his company could control London and get paid a lot of money for it. But that would be a little too obvious, wouldn't it? Someone could be in the shadows running the show. The next bad guy, or should I say woman, is a lady named Mary Kelly, head of the most powerful crime syndicate in London. She uses the dark web to sell literally anything, even people. And from the trailer, she is someone you don't want to mess with, as we see her carelessly kill this other lady. I can't wait to see what kind of story she leads to because she seems ruthless and potentially she might be able to help us out. Legion's big selling point is the fact that any NPC can be used in the DedSec Rebellion. I was skeptical of this game design in my last video where I go over my concerns of the story lacking since there is no main character. But Ubisoft gave me some hope in this reveal. Branding the characters as anyone and everyone can be a hero was really smart. This gives a sense of superheroes to the players of an everyday level, which I think a lot of people will enjoy. It allows players to connect with the characters they choose on a personal level. This is especially true since it was shown that when you go to recruit someone to join DedSec, you have to do a mission for them to get them to join, like an origin story deal. As I previously thought, I thought you just walked up to them and controlled them somehow, or were just like, hey, want to join the rebellion? And they would just join with no hassle. But this was a smart design decision that would make it more personal and enjoyable for the players. I do still have some concerns with the system though. I really want to know how different each NPC is, or is it going to be like 10 archetypes of classes that anyone can be? So the diversity is a concern for me, and I'm hoping there are a lot of different types of NPCs to use before it gets repetitive. Speaking about the NPC classes we can use, we saw a lot of different types in the gameplay. And I want to take a closer look at what was shown because there were just a lot of new abilities and details that we haven't seen yet. Let's start with the street artist. One thing I would like to point out that has changed is that there are no more stat percentage changes on the characters. They are all ability or item related now. I like this change because the stats that were shown were kind of odd. Like the drone expert, but he had negative 10% HP on drones. That made no sense to me. So looking at the street artist, the first thing we see is that their unique weapon is a paintball gun. I find this to be insanely cool, and I hope it actually leaves paint all over the person getting pelted by it. They are also equipped with a paint bomb that disorients enemies, and they can do street art, which makes total sense. I wonder what kind of art you can create, as I don't think you can freely paint anything, so maybe it's more like to be a COD or Fortnite style thing. I would also like to add that the apparel and the look of the street artist is pretty wicked. Our next class, if you will, is the anarchist. His unique items are the smoke grenade, a studded truncheon, which is classified as a light melee weapon, seems kinda heavy to me, and a bandana for gas immunity. I like this one as well. The anarchist seems like a really good class when facing multiple enemies, especially with their smoke grenade and their bandana. I kind of wish they had some ability with fire because for some reason I have an association with anarchist and fire, but I'll let it pass. If you look at the weapons as well, we can see some new things. He has a shotgun, what looks like a flare gun, so maybe we can burn some things down, and the most interesting, the brass knuckles. A very close-up and personal build here for the anarchist, which I fully agree with. Next up is the paramedic. Yes, you can even be people who are supposed to be helping others survive. They are equipped with uniform access, so if it's necessary to sneak into a hospital, it would obviously be really easy as the paramedic. You have the ambulance as a personal utility vehicle. Again, I would assume you could use this to maybe get into a scene that would be otherwise difficult to get into. The paramedic also has the triage ability, which releases any other characters that are in the hospital quicker. So here is something new that I personally learned. The characters don't always permadie. They can be arrested and also put into the hospital if they get injured. So if your wounds aren't fatal but you get caught, you're going to go off to the hospital and your character will have a cooldown until you can use them again. Matt Bryan of Engadget confirms this in his article. Same goes for the recruit who is injured during a mission. If you have a healthcare professional on the roster, they're getting out of the hospital a lot quicker. So it'll be interesting because to me, it kind of pushes people in the same direction of having the same characters. Who isn't going to want one of every type of these cooldown characters? Again, I'm kind of nitpicking here, but it's still a concern. Also, one last thing on the permadeath characters. In another article done by Chaim Gartenberg, he mentioned that the permadeath feature is a separate mode, more akin to a hardcore mode. He said, Legion does offer an optional permadeath mode that in theory ups the stakes, but I didn't get a chance to try it out. For those of you that love your characters and the thought of permadeath freaks you out, You apparently don't even have to worry about it if you don't want to. The professional hitman, aka John Wick, looks like the coolest character to play as. He comes with a Desert Eagle plus a G36 and 2 abilities, Guntaka for instant gun takedowns and an evasive combat role. In the gameplay of this character, he looks truly awesome. His takedowns are so John Wick, Ubisoft might get sued. He's easily my favorite character shown in the reveal, and I really can't wait to see what he can fully do in the game. The construction worker actually offers more than I thought. They have a stealth skill with a construction uniform access, a huge wrench for melee, a nail gun which was like a great range weapon, and most importantly, a cargo drone that they can fly around on to easily access places. Besides the pure ridiculousness of the construction workers in combat, it looks like they will be very practical to use. That drone is the perfect craft to use to get around London, and it will be fairly obvious to Albion, but it doesn't matter. If the straight on approach isn't for you, the drone expert was shown next. Like I mentioned earlier, those weird stat percentages are gone and they're replaced with new abilities. The drone expert offers a shock drone. This is a little tiny shock drone that can stun many enemies quickly. They can also hack enemy drones so that you can use them yourself. So you have other ways to fly around besides being the construction worker. And they also have a drone swarm homing bomb, which sounds totally awesome. Drones appear to play a major part in Legion, so I can see the drone expert being a very versatile character for a lot of situations in Legion. If you want to be super extra sneaky, you can find a hacker to use. The hackers shown in the gameplay had 3 abilities for going unnoticed: the virus hack, the shock hack, and the security bypass. While these abilities weren't really shown, I would expect the virus hack to be used to shut down a facility. The shock hack might be able to shock anyone using an electrical device such as a cell phone. The security bypass passive is probably going to be best used for the hacking puzzle games to make them easier, or just be able to hack anything easier in the city. You can also use Albion's own personnel against them by recruiting one of their own. This will make sneaking into the Albion locations much easier, but you're going to have to be careful of not acting out of the ordinary. This Albion contractor came equipped with the Albion uniform, the P9 semi-auto pistol, and the baton melee weapon. I can't really tell you what the gadget is, but it could be some kind of scanner or something. And I also want to point out that combat looks really smooth in Legion. This is especially true with the Hitman combat we saw earlier. The slow motion really adds depth to the character itself. Even when we saw the construction worker combat, that looked really well done. The nail gun shooting is really realistic looking, even the way he holds the gun sideways. I'm super glad the combat looks really well done. I mean, Ubisoft did make The Division, and I love that combat style, so I'm expecting that combat in Legion will be just as good. And Legion will also feature co-op. It must be more than 2 players, since in this website it says mates. And the official Ubisoft word on the subject is, team up with your real life mates in co-op mode to explore dedicated online content and missions and exciting side activities, such as bare knuckle boxing, freestyle football, couriering, and posting street art. So the way this is worded makes me feel that the co-op won't take place on someone's server for story mode, but its own separate server for online fun. The bare knuckle boxing I hope is against your friends, because who doesn't want to virtually punch their mates in the face? Freestyle football is going to be awesome. That's soccer for all the Americans here, and it's probably going to be ridiculous. Couriering is delivering, which is most likely going to be a mode where you race against your friends to see who can deliver items the fastest. And finally, the street art, which I think could have real potential, especially if players can freely make whatever they want. People love expressing themselves, and arts in games is something tons of people enjoy. So if it's totally custom, I can see it being a huge success. Which of these modes are you most looking forward to? Players can get their hands on Watch Dogs Legions on October 29th of this year, which is something I did not see coming, especially when Ubisoft has Valhalla coming out now in November, but that's a discussion for another video. If you enjoyed this content and want more, take a look at the videos coming up or the ones down in the description. Has your hype raised for Legion? I'm interested on how this reveal has affected everyone's opinion on the game. Don't forget the subs so you can stay up to date on Watch Dogs Legion, and until next time, peace.